Welcome to Accounting Marketing Doesn't Suck. Join host Hugh Duffy as he takes you behind the scenes with successful accountants, CPAs, and industry elites in conversations about growing a more profitable business. This podcast is meant to prove that accountant marketing truly does not suck, and in fact can provide you with new skills to improve your effectiveness so you can learn how to develop a business that you want to run, not a business that's running you.
Hello, and welcome to the Accounting Marketing Doesn't Suck podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Build Your Firm, an accounting marketing firm that helps accountants work smarter, not harder. I'm your host, Hugh Duffy, co-founder of Build Your Firm, and on today's show, we'll be talking to Bill Sheridan, Chief Communications Officer for the Maryland Association of CPAs. I'd like to share with you some insights on Bill's background before launching into the podcast. Bill's a grad from the University of Buffalo with a degree in communication. After graduating from Buffalo, Bill followed a journalism path, working as a sports editor with the Gaston Gazette down in Gastonia, North Carolina. He also worked with CBS Sportsline. And from there, he's gone into freelance writing, working with large newspapers, sports journalism for the second largest online sports website. Over the past 18 years, Bill has also been responsible for all elements of communication with the Maryland Association of CPAs. He's the creator and co-author of the acclaimed blog CPA Success. He speaks regularly at national conferences within the accounting industry. On the side, Bill is a personal trainer and holds a certified personal trainer designation. And he's joining us here from St. Louis, Missouri. With that introduction, I'd like to introduce Bill Sheridan. Welcome, Bill.
Thanks for having me, Hugh. Good to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So, how did you become involved with the Maryland Association of CPAs?
Wow, if I can remember that far back, it was 2000 actually. So I'm in my 19th year now with the MACPA. Funny how that kind of turned into a career, but. Just kind of happenstance. I was working for another organization in Baltimore at the time, and a friend of my wife's happened to be working at the MACPA, and they had just created a position there. I think the original title was Electronic Marketing Manager back in the day. So this was a brand new position, and she knew that I had that kind of background, and asked if I'd be interested in applying. So I did, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, no, you've had a great career. And so your career's been a classic journalism path, but you've also evolved into communications as well as continuing education. Explain for our listeners your responsibilities within the Maryland Association of CPAs.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to do, actually, to tell people what I do. My wife asks me that all the time. She says, "People, what do you do, Bill?" And I don't know what to tell them, and because it's not strictly a communications function anymore. What I do is really evolved just to meet the needs of the association and our members over time. But the short answer is, yeah, Chief Communications Officer. So pretty much any kind of outward-facing communications for our members kind of flows through me, and that could be our print publication, could be our weekly electronic newsletter, our blogs, our podcasts, any kind of editorial type of communication that we send out to members kind of flows through me. So that's the communication side. I'm also doing, as you said, a good bit of speaking nowadays. Getting the word out to accounting groups actually throughout the country about the future of accounting and the trends that are impacting accounting and finance pros throughout the country. Doing a little bit of facilitation and business coaching now, so it's really kind of, I don't know how you would explain it. I kind of equate it to just overall education. I'm more of an educator now than anything for accounting and finance pros. Just trying to spread the good word about what's happening and why they should be paying attention.
Dimensionalize where you speak so that our listeners have a sense of how broad your communication is outside of the state of Maryland.
I do speak quite a bit in Maryland at some of our own events. Also been asked to speak at some national conferences. The AICPA, I've spoken at a couple of their shows over the years, things like the CCH User Conference, things of that nature. And then also I've been speaking more and more frequently at other events put on by other state CPA societies. So that's kind of where my speaking engagements have fallen recently.
In your role within the Association of CPAs in Maryland, you've been exposed to all aspects of our industry, from the business community to prominent CPA firms to broader issues facing our industry. What aspect of our industry do you find most interesting?
Now, when you say industry, are you talking about accounting and finance or marketing?
No, I'm really talking about accounting and finance. You know, the business community that is part of your association, your outreach, your communication, your responsibility to interface. There are CPAs in the industry as well that you also have to service and represent.
I just what I love is about the profession is, this goes back to someone who I used to work with at the MACPA. She's now since retired, but she was a CPA, and she always liked to say that public is our middle name, quite literally, certified public accountants. And what I love about this profession is the fact that they serve the public interest, right? That's where their sweet spot is, and they're committed to doing that day in and day out, and I love that about them. I also respect and admire the fact that more and more accounting and finance pros, particularly younger ones, are now starting to do a 180 almost. This profession, they spend most of their time looking backward, right? That's by definition. We account for things that have taken place. And because of that, for a long time, I don't think many people in the profession were focusing more on the horizon and what's coming at them. And so we're missing some of the important trends that were starting to impact the profession. And now I think more and more you're starting to see accounting and finance pros understand the importance of turning around from time to time and looking through the windshield and noticing what's coming at them so that they can be better prepared for when it comes. So they're starting to pay attention, and I think that that's really important and crucial at this point.
And the Maryland Association of CPAs has probably been on the forefront of looking at AI and blockchain and how it's going to change our industry. Can you talk about that?
Boy, yeah, we're already starting to see it, particularly in artificial intelligence. I think it was 1997 when IBM created this machine called Deep Blue at the time. Developed specifically to see if they could create a machine that could beat another human being at chess, which they did. This machine, Deep Blue, beat Garry Kasparov at chess in '97. And those of us in the profession, our initial reaction was, oh, hey, cool, look what the machine can do. And then we went right back to ignoring it and then got busy again. And then it was another 14 years later, I think, they developed another machine called Watson, which they developed specifically to see if they could create a machine that could beat another human being at the game show Jeopardy, which they did. They pitted Watson against the two highest earning Jeopardy champions of all time, and Watson beat them both. And again, we went right back to ignoring it. Thought it was cool, but didn't really see how it was going to impact us. And then in, I believe it was 2016, just 5 short years later, KPMG announced that they were going to use the Watson technology across their complete suite of professional services, including tax and audit and consulting services. And then we started saying, whoa, that becomes, this now is a little bit real, right? This is impacting what we do. And still, I don't think a lot of us thought that it was something that we needed to pay attention to right away, because at that point, AI was something that only the biggest companies with the deepest pockets could really play around with. And then 18 months after that announcement comes an announcement from a small firm in Maryland, Garbleman Winslow in Southern Maryland, who announced that they were applying an AI solution to their audit suite. And now suddenly it's gone in just a really short period of time from something just the biggest organizations could play around with to something that now is affordable and available to everybody. And so that's how quickly this stuff is happening. And you're starting to see more and more of that become available on a much wider basis to everyone. So, this AI solution, for instance, allows a small firm like Garberman Winslow to analyze 100% of the transactions out there rather than just a small sample. And that's a huge differentiator for a really small firm. It's really starting to level the playing field in a really significant way. And that type of advancement it's happening faster and faster. As my boss, Tom Hood, likes to say, things will never be as slow as they are right now. Things are just going to advance faster and faster. Blockchain is a little bit different. Haven't seen anything, I haven't anyway, any huge groundbreaking examples of blockchain in action in this profession. You're seeing some really interesting stuff in the supply side area, tracking, for instance, products from farm to table, that type of thing. In the profession itself, it's really more potential at this point. It has the potential, a lot of folks say, of being a really game-changing technology in terms of things like audit. Heard, for instance, there was a roundtable discussion at New York University not too long ago in which one of the participants, one of the panelists, said he believes that audit will be dead in 10 years, thanks to blockchain. And I think that's a little bit alarmist, but that type of potential to change what we do as a profession is certainly earned the interest of people at the very highest levels of the profession. The AI CPA, I know, is looking very deeply into blockchain and its potential to change the role of auditors. I don't think anyone is thinking that audit is going to go away, but how auditors operate may change significantly as a result of blockchain. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't take into consideration, I think, when they're talking about these technologies and how they're automating away a lot of jobs. People are focusing on the jobs that are going away as a result of these technologies. What they don't understand or sometimes fail to understand is that these new technologies will be creating as many new jobs as they take away. And there may be a lot of opportunity there for us to focus in on some of those new jobs or new roles, new functions, as ways that we can add value going forward. So, these things are here, they're real, and they're having an impact. We need to be paying attention now because, as I said, the way that these technologies are advancing is only going to continue to be faster and faster going forward.
Can you share some more insights in terms of what Garbelman and Winslow CPAs did? First of all, the size of their firm. I know Samantha has a big role within your state society, the state association. Dimensionalize that for our listeners, since most of them aren't local, they don't know, the size of the firm, they're not familiar with it, and how they incorporate it into their practice.
Yeah, the firm itself, I don't know exactly how big it is in terms of the number of people there. There's just a couple of partners, I believe, and Samantha Bowling is in charge of audit there. As you mentioned, Sam is chair of the MACPA's board of directors for this current fiscal year. So we have a really good working relationship with her. But they decided to make the move. Simply, it was a case of Samantha having her antenna up and understanding what the trends were and how they were impacting the profession. That's just another example of an accounting and finance person who had trained herself to spot trends early and figure out how she needed to act in order to take advantage of those trends. So she had heard early on about the impact that AI was having, particularly in the audit practice. And she figured, hey, if I'm going to continue to add value to my clients and customers, I'm probably going to have to go here at some point. And as she likes to say, all she did was Google it. She came home one night and started playing around in Google, trying to figure out, okay, how is AI impacting what I do? And she stumbled across this solution called MindBridge AI and decided she needed to at least try it out and see what the impact would be. And so that's all. I mean, really, that's all she did, was just understand the trend and then start investigating it a little bit for herself. She'll be the first to tell you that she is not an expert in artificial intelligence. She doesn't really know a whole lot about the back end and how it works, but she knew that the potential was there for huge impact on her firm. So you don't have to be a technologist. You don't have to be a data analyst or understand the ins and outs of AI to know that it's going to impact what we do. You just need to understand the trend and be interested and curious enough to start investigating it for yourself. And I think that's a really great example of how we all should be operating now when it comes to these new technologies. We need to be a little bit more anticipatory, as the futurist Daniel Burrus would say, to take the time to understand the trends, to be aware of them, to predict how they might impact us, and then to adapt, to figure out what we need to do to take advantage of these new trends.
Mm. So given how closely you guys have followed this, and you're looking at AI, you're looking at blockchain, can you paint a picture for our listeners about how the public accounting industry is evolving and what's ahead, since a lot of youngsters, as well as some veterans, are concerned about what's going to happen ahead? How's it going to evolve? How's it going to change from your vantage point?
We want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, BizPayo, which is short for Business Payments Online. Maybe you've seen some of their advertising elsewhere or the feature article in Accounting Today. Here's why accountants across the country are big fans of BizPayo. BizPayo is an online system for sending out engagement proposals and then getting paid on autopilot. If you hate chasing existing clients for payment, then BizPayo is a tool you need to have in your arsenal. Here are some of the amazing reasons why BizPayo is so popular. BizPayo's engagement tool enables you to send out proposals and client agreements. Once approved by your prospective client, it enables you to get paid electronically going forward with less effort, so you don't need to chase clients for payment. BizPayo accepts recurring and one-shot payments online, both e-check, credit card, and debit card payments with less hassle. BizPayo enables you to get paid by credit card and debit card payments at $0 net costs. This is very different than PayPal, Intuit Merchant Services, and other payment systems that take a fee in excess of 3% of each payment to you. BizPayo enables you to recover those fees so you get paid for plastic charge card payments at $0 net cost. BizPayo also syncs with QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop, so all your payments are posted seamlessly. With BizPayo, there's no nickel and dime charges either. There's no equipment costs, no processing minimums, no PCI charges, and so on. So go to bizpayo.com, that's bizpayo.com, and get paid in full like you deserve.
Yeah, I tend to see, the public accounting side as what I like to say is what we do isn't really going to fundamentally change. I think over time, how we do it is going to change tremendously. And that's been true for generations. I mean, things have always kind of evolved, and we've always had to roll with the changes over time. It's just that now we're in an era where things are changing faster and faster, and we have to learn how to be more and more flexible more and more quickly. But for instance, we may not end up doing tax or doing as much tax as we've done in the past. Though that type of function could very soon be automated away by artificial intelligence. It's already starting to happen. There was a study that came out, it was 2-3 years ago, I think at this time. It was by Oxford University. They tried to gauge the odds that certain certain jobs would be automated away, complete automation within the next 20 years, and tax was right up near the top. It was, I think, 98.7% odds that the tax would be a completely automated function. So things like that might go away, but if you look at it from the standpoint of, okay, now I don't have to do tax, but what else can I do? What other type of value can I offer our clients and customers going forward? They don't need us to crunch the numbers anymore. And really, we can't compete with the machines doing that anyway. The machines can do it faster and more accurately than we ever could. But what our clients need us is to help them be a little bit more future ready. Right? In fact, there was another study that came out, I think it was the Sleeter Group a couple of years ago, released a study that found that the number one reason why clients decide to leave their CPAs is because CPA was, I think the way that the study put it, the CPA was providing me with reactive services and not proactive advice. In other words, our clients want us to be proactive. They want us to help them be future ready. And that means doing things differently. It means learning a bunch of new skills, things that we haven't focused on, maybe some of the quote unquote softer skills. There's been a number of studies recently that have focused in on what CPAs are going to need to know how to do in order to remain relevant going forward. And a lot of those skills have nothing to do with those foundational technical skills that we learned in school. So things are changing, and we're evolving with it. I think the type of things that a public accounting firm provides for their clients and customers is going to remain pretty fundamentally the same, at least in the near future. But again, how we provide those services may change radically. We may be employing an AI type of solution to do some of the, the number crunching stuff that we've done for clients forever, and then use the time that frees up for us to provide greater value going forward. So you're going to see how we do what we do changing pretty radically as a result of some of these new trends.
And as an industry, where are we missing the mark?
Still, I think there's still a lot of folks who are, I said earlier that I think a lot of people are starting to pay attention and become a little bit more future focused and trying to understand what these trends are and how they're impacting them. I think far too many people are still not paying attention. And a lot of it may be kind of more experienced folks who have been in the profession for years and years, who are just kind of grounded in the way they work and don't really feel the need. I've talked with folks on more than one occasion who have said, look, we're making money hand over fist right now. Why do we have to change what we're doing? And I think that there's a lot of that mentality still in the profession these days. And I don't know how to overcome that mentality. Especially, I think a lot of people, quite frankly, are hoping that they'll get to retire before this stuff really comes around and impacts their organization. So that that is what it is. And there was a great answer from a pretty deep thinker, a business expert by the name of Rita McGrath, who said, you'll continue to make money until you don't. And then you're going to be in real problems. So the day will come when the trends will impact you in a way that is going to start to impact your bottom line. I think a lot of folks in the profession are still far too often asking, what's the return on investment for this stuff? What do I stand to make by doing something new like this? We're starting to hear more and more people say that a much better question is not what's the ROI, but what's the RONI? What's the risk of not investing? Because that risk is really, really high right now. Things are moving so quickly that if you don't start taking advantage of some of these new technologies and trends, you're just going to put yourself further and further behind and really leave you with little hope of catching up.
Fascinating. Hey, let's make a little transition here and let's bring it closer to home. So let's talk about how communication is changing given learning styles, media consumption habit changes, and closer to what you deal with in terms of really, you talked about how your role has evolved to becoming an educator. So let's look at that piece of it, since that affects more of your day-to-day responsibility. The pace of change in our industry is obviously changing faster and faster. How about the demands upon the state associations like yours? How has that evolved, and how is it changing, and how does it affect, what you have to deliver to your members?
I think what's really changing that impacts us are member expectations. They're making use of these new technologies just like we are, just like everybody is, right? They're, more. They may have an Amazon Echo at home, where they're using voice search. They're used to getting things faster and more personalized than ever before. All these things are impacting members' expectations, and the question we as an association have to be asking ourselves, and every association is are we evolving fast enough to meet those expectations? So again, I think far too frequently the answer is no. We're certainly trying, and there are trends out there that are impacting, for instance, what I do as a communicator, that can help meet those member expectations. Just as one example, artificial intelligence. There are AI solutions for communications. There are AI solutions out there right now that will put together electronic newsletters without any intervention on my behalf. I don't have to physically put these newsletters together anymore. AI will do that, and they will deliver personalized news to our members. It gets smarter the more that our members use it, right? The AI will learn what each individual member likes to read based on what they're clicking on, and deliver more of that type of stuff to them. And that's, that impacts me as a communicator. And some folks in my role might see that as a threat, right? This is AI doing what I do. But, if I don't have to do that, then I can focus on other stuff that's going to add greater value to our members, to the people that we do business with. So it's an opportunity, really. So the same things that are impacting the accounting and finance profession, they're impacting what associations do as well. And they're changing member expectations, and associations have to start asking ourselves, are we evolving fast enough to meet those expectations? And if the answer is no, then how do we do that? That's our challenge. That's our opportunity going forward.
And as an association, how do you determine their expectations and their needs?
A lot of them is just having it. It goes back to having a relationship with our members, right? One of the really interesting things to me about the time that we're living in is the fact that as the more we become a technology-centric profession, the more that basic human type of skills are going to be, those types of skills are just going to be more and more important going forward. Interesting, kind of paradoxically, the skills that are going to keep us relevant are ones that are going to bring us closer to the people that we do business with. So having a relationship with our members, understanding, having conversations with them, and knowing what they find valuable and what we can do to help meet those needs is going to become more and more crucial going forward. And we've always kind of prided ourselves on having those types of relationships, but it's going to become absolutely critical going forward that we maintain those ties with our members, and so that we know what they want from us, what their expectations are of doing business with us, and where we can be focused on so that we can start meeting those expectations.
And how do you guys measure that success, though?
How do we measure it? I think probably membership and membership recruitment and retention. If we've got members who keep coming back to us year after year, it's probably a pretty good sign that we're doing things right. So that's probably where we're going to be focusing our efforts on is are we delivering what we need to our membership? They're going to tell us by whether or not they're paying their membership dollars to us. So that's a pretty good measure right there. If members aren't coming back, that's a pretty good sign that we're doing something wrong. So
you guys don't do any type of surveys and stuff like that to measure where their needs are changing, where you're missing them?
Well, I mean, sure. Those types of surveys are helpful, and it can point us in the right direction. But the bottom line is, the more personalized relationships that we can have with our members, the better. The more touch points that we can have with members, the better that will be. And technology can help us do that, certainly to some extent. We can use these new technologies to deliver a more personalized member experience, but ultimately it's all about being in front of our members. Tom Hood does that better than anybody that I've seen. We run a series of town hall style meetings, once in the fall, once in the spring, throughout the state, so that we can actually get in front of our members and talk to them. As many members as we possibly can, twice a year. And those types of events, members find those more valuable than almost anything, because they get to talk to Tom and to the staff and have that personal outreach. So yeah, member surveys will tell us a good deal. Certain types of technologies will help us maintain good relationships and touch points with our members, but there's really nothing that beats getting in front of them and having a conversation. And we're trying to do that as frequently as we possibly can.
And within your responsibility, what role does content marketing play within that?
Within my responsibility, well, it plays a huge role. And again, it's something that I can't really, I have not been able to keep up with how quickly content marketing has evolved over the years. What we've done, what we did actually about 10 years ago, is we outsourced our entire marketing function. And I think you're starting to see more organizations kind of move in that direction to a group that this is all that they do, right? They spend every waking moment trying to keep their skills ahead of the curve when it comes to content and marketing. And given the demands on my time, I just couldn't do that. So we've outsourced our marketing to a group that does that for us, and they're taking advantage of things like video marketing, AI, just keeping in front of all of the different trends, and trying to reach members in ways that our members want to be reached, quite frankly. So again, content marketing impacts everything that I do, but I've gotten to the point where I'm spending most of my time focused on creating that content, and the marketing team that we're working with figures out how to deliver that content to our members in ways that'll benefit both them and the association.
And have you been able to outsource it holistically, or are you breaking it into different segments and identifying experts that are best at servicing this particular medium, this particular type of content? Tell us about that.
This group is, so we outsource it entirely to one organization. They have different folks within that organization who focus on different segments, video marketing, print marketing, electronic marketing, all of that type of stuff. But we outsource this to one organization that pretty much handles everything for us. But the great thing about it is that the gentleman who founded this organization is himself a CPA. He's no longer practicing, but he has background in the profession. So he understands the nuances of our profession, the different segments and how they all kind of work differently, and he can tailor messages around those types of nuances. So which is really, really helpful.
And from your 20,000 foot vantage point, I mean, where do you see the emerging segments for somebody that's coming out of college, somebody that's in the beginning stages, embryonic stages of their career? Where do you see things taking off and huge opportunity? You mentioned before that AI is going to create opportunities. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh gosh, well, I mean, AI is just one segment of it. What I have been telling folks is that, given the exponential advancement of technology, when you talk about what's going to be happening tomorrow, you almost have to start with the fundamental belief that almost anything is going to be possible. Because, I mean, the technology is just going to advance to the point that makes it so. So for someone just coming out of school right now, no matter what profession you are going into, whether it's accounting or finance, or whether it's communications or marketing, anything like that, I think what you need to focus on is just being a lifelong learner, being a student, a professional student, because chances are what you do when you leave school isn't what you're going to be doing 5 years from now. It's going to change, and it's going to change really, really fast. There was a futurist that I talked to not too long ago who said that he believes that about 50% of what a college freshman learns in their first year of school today will be obsolete by the time they graduate. I mean, that's how quickly things are advancing. So, no matter what industry you go into, no matter what profession you be part of, being a lifelong learner is going to give you a leg up over everybody else out there. Just being nimble and flexible enough to say, okay, I've got to outlearn the pace of change, right? Again, going back to Tom Hood, he has a formula for it. He says your L has to be greater than C squared. The pace at which you learn has to be greater than the rate of change and greater than the competition. You just have to constantly be learning new stuff that's going to keep you ahead of the curve. I think it was Robert Safian from Fast Company. He wrote an article a couple of years ago, which he famously kind of said that we're at a point now where the most important skill anybody can hope to have is the ability to learn new skills. And I think that that's really, really true. You mentioned my journalism background. I've been a communicator since day one, since I was in college. And I'm still a communicator to this day. I'm in the business of informing people, but the way that I do it now is radically different than the way that I did it back in 1989. And that's just evidence of me trying to outlearn that pace of change, learning new stuff, and trying to communicate in ways that the audiences that I work with want to be communicated with. So that's where we're at. We're just going to have to be lifelong learners and hope that we can stay one step ahead of that pace of change.
So technology is changing. Obviously, learning has to change. Their styles and modes with which they educate themselves are changing. Are there particular segments that you see that they should really target as something that's going to have a good 5-10 year run?
Oh gosh, as far as where
within the accounting industry
young professionals want to spend their time focusing on, boy, I mean, it's, as I said before, I don't think that what we do is really going to change radically. It's just going to be how we do it. I truly believe in this profession. I think it's a great time to enter the accounting and finance world. Things are really, really exciting right now. I know a lot of folks in the profession are a little bit nervous about the impact that these new technologies are having on the profession, but it's kind of exciting to be a part of it, to be a part of the folks that are writing the blueprint for tomorrow, so to speak. So I think just being devoted to helping clients and customers understand the stories behind their finances and understand the fact that being able to tell those stories is really a key to be helping our clients and customers become more future ready, walking them into tomorrow. That's a really exciting thing. So no matter where you want to focus in the accounting and finance world, it's a great time to be doing it, because you're going to be seeing the accounting and finance professional of tomorrow being built over the next 5 years or so. I think any segment that you want to go into is going to be dealing with the same types of opportunities to help our clients and customers grow in a really critical way.
Man, that's great. Bill, I'd really like to thank you for openly sharing your insights for our podcast listeners. For those of you out there that'd like to learn more about Bill, I'd encourage you to listen to his podcast. As he mentioned earlier, it's Future Proof, a podcast for tomorrow's accounting and finance pros. It's available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, as well as Stitcher. Again, Bill, I really appreciate your insights, speaking to our listeners, and I wish all of you a good day, and thank you.
Hugh, it's been a privilege. Thank you very much.